Disclaimer, I am not perfect at this. I don't want to suggest for a moment that I've got it all together. I am just like everyone else out here. I am learning every single day, but I see the patterns. Hi there, and thank you so much for taking the time out of your day today to join me on the Direct Selling Accelerator podcast. I'm your host, Sam Hind, but I am also, like you, a mumpreneur, an entrepreneur, a femalepreneur. I'm a business owner as well, looking to find my way, grow my vision, set my legacy out, and make sure that I'm achieving all of my goals. And with that comes a bunch of challenges along the way. Today on this episode, I really felt it in my heart to speak into changing our mental state. And over the last 10 years in business, I have had to do so much work in this space because, like any woman, or let's just say any person in business, there are times, and I'm going to say sometimes on just literally a daily basis, where you find yourself in a slump, you find yourself maybe a little disappointed, maybe feeling a little let down, maybe just not feeling very productive or motivated. And those are the moments where we've got choices to make. The choice can be, I'm just going to sit in this and I'm going to let my energy go here, or I'm going to change it up. One of the things that I've learned over the last couple of years with some incredible mentors surrounding me is that while we can't change what happens to us, we can't change the world, we can't change the news, we can't change the way that people might be behaving towards us or even just around us that has a little impact. What we can change is the way we respond. Now, over the last few years, I've noticed, particularly as I've become a mum yet again, there are times that I really have to be very intentional about the way I show up in my business. Also, the way I show up for my family, because I can feel flat. I can feel frustrated. I can feel annoyed at the way that things might be going on in the world around me, or even, it could be as simple as a client phone call or an email or a text that I get that just suddenly sets me off onto a different tangent. And one of the things I recognized a number of years ago was the more that I focused on something, the more I attracted that thing to myself. And I heard a great analogy around this a few years ago where the pastor at our church was talking about what we focus on and how when we put huge amounts of focus into something, we just get more of that thing. And he used the analogy of teaching a child to ride a bike. He said, if you're teaching a child to ride a bike, and if you, my dear listener today, have got children, you know what I'm talking about here. If you say to that child, see that rock over there, whatever you do, don't hit the rock. Don't hit the rock. Don't hit the rock. Focus on the rock. Don't hit it. What are they going to do every time? Of course, they're going to hit the rock. The reason is because we have drawn their focus to it. But if we were to change the way that we get them to focus to, hey, do you see that path over there? What I want you to do is follow that path. Follow that path, follow that path. And we're not drawing their attention to the rock at all. They don't even notice it. They steer well away from it. I heard a story. I don't even know if this is true, but I heard a story a number of years ago about Route 66 in the US. Now, we all know Route 66, right? And it's that long, never-ending road that you can travel on from one end of the country to the other. I don't even know if I got that right. But on that road, there is somewhere along the road, there is a giant stretch of just nothingness for kilometers after kilometer after kilometer, mile after mile, or if you're an American listening to this, mile after mile. But on that road, there's one pole, one telegraph pole. Now, this may not be on Route 66, by the way. That's just where I'm imagining it. But somewhere in America, there's a big, long road that goes for miles and miles and miles, and there's one telegraph pole on that road. And it's been reported that this telegraph pole has been hit a record number of times because why? There's been nothing to look at for so long, and suddenly people look at this pole and it gets their attention and it gets their focus. Now, even if that's not a true story, the point remains. Where energy goes, energy flows. Where energy flows, energy goes. We get more of those things that we focus on. And so what I want to talk about today, that was a big intro. Sorry for my little word vomit this morning. But what I really wanted to share with you are some strategies, 5 strategies that I use to, number one, change where my energy is flowing, to change my focus, to change my energy level. Because there are lots of times throughout my week where I've got a choice to make. I can choose to stay where I'm at. I can choose to be in a non-productive place or a low energy place when that happens, and it's going to happen. Or I can change my focus. And while I can't control what the world dishes out, what I can't control is what people do around me, I can control how I respond to that. So I want to give you 5 strategies, and I'm going to quickly tell you what they are. And then I'm going to unpack them a little bit. And these are 5 strategies as well that I work with our beautiful Rise Up in a Circle members on. We talk about these frequently because we have a responsibility, if we're showing up in our business, to show up for people as our best version of ourselves. That doesn't mean that we're not always looking to improve ourselves. And I'm not saying we need to be perfect in any way, but I'm saying that we can be intentional, or we can kind of just let things go. And, we don't give people the best version of who we are. We're not constantly growing. So the 5 things here I want to talk to you about are, number 1, starting your day or your week intentionally. Number 2 is the practice of gratitude and why this is really important. Number 3 is filling your cup. Number 4 is, when in doubt, move your body, change your physiology. And number 5, well, you'll have to wait and see. I'll tell you about that one at the end, the most important one of all. So let's start with number 1, starting your day or your week intentionally. Now, I remember saying probably about 6 years ago now to my own coach, I said to her, I've noticed a pattern. I've been paying attention to my weeks. And I was like, the weeks where I get to the end of the week and I feel like I'm on top of it and I've achieved things and I've ticked the boxes and I can go into my weekend feeling proud, feeling fulfilled, are the weeks when I've planned my week. The weeks when I finish my week feeling like I have been busy, I've been nonstop running from thing to thing, I've had all of these balls in the air, and yet I feel like I've achieved nothing important, are the weeks when I didn't plan my week out. In other words, when you let your week run you, you're going to end up in that place. So we want to flip it around. We want to run our week. And so there's a couple of things in this place. It's not just about planning your day and your calendar. It's about planning your mindset. And this is the key here. This is the thing that I've noticed. The people who I absolutely admire, I watch them as incredibly successful female, I'm going to say femalepreneurs here because I've got some people that I watch, that I admire, that I learn from every single day, who are mums, they're women, they're in business, and they are fighting their way ahead to achieve their goals, their dreams, their mission, their vision, just like what I am, just like what you are. And I've watched some patterns here. Remember, when you see a successful person, watch the patterns of their behavior. And one of the patterns is they start their day and their week intentionally, mentally. So here's what I do. You've heard me talk before about my planner. I'm not going to go down that road because that goes without saying. We want to organize our week. You want to run your time, not have your time run you. But now I want to focus a little bit for a moment on the mindset side of things. So there's a few things that I try to focus on, and I notice a big difference between the days where I do this and I don't. Now, disclaimer, I am not perfect at this. I don't want to suggest for a moment that I've got it all together. I am just like everyone else out here. I am learning every single day, but I see the patterns. And the patterns are this: when I get up out of bed and I start my day intentionally, where I am not rushing, I am taking the time to move my body, to do some priming or meditating or exercise of some sort, when I stop and center myself before my day starts, before the world wakes up, before everyone's ready to have at it, my day goes completely differently. I'll use today as an example, right? I set my alarm for 6 o'clock in the morning. I got up, and I'm going to be honest with you, it wasn't easy this morning to get up. Yesterday, I felt great. Today, you know what? I struggled a bit to get up at 6 o'clock. I got out of bed and I thought, I feel a bit flat today. But what I knew was that I had a choice. I could start my day feeling that way, or I could change things up. So I went for a walk. I got out. I got some fresh air. I moved my body. I did some exercise. I came back. I hydrated. I had a really good drink of water, and then I did some priming. So my favorite priming exercise is one of the free YouTube videos available from Tony Robbins. If you just Google Tony Robbins priming, it'll be the first thing that comes up. And it takes about 10 minutes. And all it does is it allows me to stop, do a breathing exercise, center myself, and visualize and focus on the things I want to attract more of and the things that center me, that bring me into a place of gratitude, of positivity, of having an attitude that I know is going to serve me for the day. Now, you might find a different way of doing this. There's no one way. I've just found this way. So you might find that you love various different types of meditating. I know some other people that love to do things like Pilates and yoga. If you've ever read the 5 a.m. Club, I highly recommend that you do. It is a brilliant book. It talks about some of the different things you can do to start your day. And there is a proven process to this as well. So starting your day with intention, very valuable, very important. The other two things that I focus on at that time are these two things. Number one, what is one thing I'm going to achieve today? Now, I would, when sitting down and looking at my planner, I would write down 3 things I'm going to tick off by the end of the day. But I like to think about just one thing. If I could achieve one thing for the day and I could set myself up for success, what would that one thing be? Remember, you want it to be something you know you're going to achieve. You don't want to set yourself up to fail or to have incredible pressure, because that in itself changes your energy levels. But if it could be something you know you're going to achieve for the day, what's that one thing going to be? For me today, it was drink 3 liters of water. It was really simple. It might be do 10 push-ups. It might be make that phone call. It might be to set up that party or demonstration that you're going to do. It might be to serve your partner's love language today. You know, Greg is words of affirmation and physical touch. So it might be I'm going to absolutely make sure I give him a kiss when I walk through the door tonight, and I'm going to tell him something that I love about him. Really simple. I can tick that one thing off for the day. So we're setting our day up and our week up intentionally. Number 2 is, and this is, I've actually got this Post-it right next to my camera here because I needed to remember this one, but the amazing Mike Johnson, who's been on this podcast numerous times, said to me one day, it is actually impossible to feel fear and gratitude simultaneously. Now, often when we are feeling angry, stressed, frustrated, flat, low energy, if you really stop and think about it, it often comes back to a fear. Now, if you think about what that fear is, often it's an unrealistic fear. It's based on a past experience. There's nothing real to it. In fact, all fears are based on past experience. So really, they're just fake. But put that to the side for a moment. Usually, all of those feelings come back to a sense of fear about something. It might be fear of what could happen in a certain situation, fear of failing, fear of that relationship going sour, fear of somebody not liking you if they've sent you an email or a text and you're reading. If you're like me, you read between the lines a lot. Oh my gosh, they didn't write straight back. What does that mean? I realize everybody does this, by the way. I've recently had a conversation with somebody who I did it to, and I didn't even know. There was absolutely nothing wrong. I just didn't respond straight away because I got busy. That person agonized all night because they'd sent me this message and I didn't come straight back to them. I was just busy. There was nothing to it at all. But that person agonized over it because there was a fear there. So here's the thing. You can't feel fear and gratitude simultaneously. This is so true. So practice this. Whenever you get into a place where you're feeling frustrated, angry, upset, or maybe just straight out, you're afraid. You know exactly what it is. Sit down and think of something, 1, 2, or 3 things that you can be genuinely grateful for. I find it easier to close my eyes when I'm doing this, but if you can't, if you're driving or you're walking, that's okay. But just make sure you feel it. Feel the gratitude for what it is. It could be so simple. It doesn't have to be complex. Sometimes I'm going to be real with you. Sometimes it's hard to think of something when you are in a really low state that you can feel genuinely grateful for in those moments. So It could just be the fact that the sun is shining right now. It could just be the fact that I'm breathing. It could just be, hey, I got up this morning, one of my kids gave me a hug. All you need to do is put yourself in that place and be grateful for a moment. I guarantee you will observe something very interesting happen. The fear, even if it's momentarily, it will dissipate. So it's really valuable. We've heard again and again and again the importance of gratitude journaling. Now, this is something that I've always said to myself, oh, I should get into the habit of doing. And one day I'll be on this podcast going, I gratitude journal every day. Well, I'm not going to lie to you and tell you I do. I don't right now. It is definitely something on my list of to-dos to create a new habit around this. But I'm working on some other habits right now, like hydrating more frequently, eating better food, exercising every morning, getting up earlier. I've got a few things that I'm working on, and I'm really proud to be ticking those boxes every day. I'll get to the gratitude journaling part, but I do know that there is value in me feeling gratitude every day, even if I'm not writing it down. So if you're a step ahead of me here, you might even start doing some gratitude journaling. We all know that's powerful. We all know that it's important. But even if it's just sitting in the moment, feeling some gratitude for a moment, I guarantee you it will make all the difference to what you're feeling. And I can promise you it will make a difference to the way you start showing up. And if you can get into the habit of doing it, for me, it really does require being intentional, but man, does it make a big difference. So if I notice myself getting into one of those slumps, one of my first ports of call is let's just stop for a little moment and feel some gratitude for something. And then maybe I'll pick a second thing, maybe I'll pick a third, but every time I see a shift in my mental state at that time. Okay, the next one, number 3, is very, very important. We've all heard the saying, you can't pour from an empty cup. Well, here's the thing. If you are a mum, maybe you're not. If you're a parent of any sort, if you're a business owner, which most of you are, if you are busy, which you are, I know you are, then it is likely that you put a lot of your own needs to the side. I'll get to that later. I'll do that later. Something else is more important right now. And you can get through your whole week without once doing anything to fill your own cup. This is a really difficult one, particularly, I think, for mums, because they are so used to having to serve their families first and foremost and deal with themselves at the end. But it is not an excuse. We actually can't pour from an empty cup, and burnout is a very real reality for many, many, many of us, and it's becoming a bigger problem. So I want to encourage you to do this. Have some plans each week, each day, each month, each hour even, to do something for you. Now, this doesn't need to be time-consuming or expensive. One of the exercises that we often do in our community is what we call a cup-filling, soul-soothing activity where we build a list. This is a really fun thing to do even with a partner. Greg and I did this a couple of years ago. We should do it again because it is a lot of fun. We set a little timer for 10 minutes and we each sat down, we made ourselves a cup of tea and we sat down quietly and we wrote down on a piece of paper everything that soothes our soul and fills our cup. From things as simple as going for a walk without my shoes on the grass, smelling a flower, having a bath, listening to some music that I love, traveling on a plane, eating some salt and vinegar chips. We went big, we went small. We just thought of absolutely everything, did this massive brain dump. And then at the end of the 10 minutes, we swapped the list with each other. And that list was, I took a photo on my phone, Greg took a photo on his phone. And the idea was, it was a reminder for, when I feel like my cup is starting to get a bit drained, he can prompt me and say, hey, Sam, do you know, you've got reading a book on here. Why don't you take 15 minutes to go and just read in the sun? Or, let me run you a bath. Or maybe I could say to him, hey, Greg, you know what? I know you value getting a massage. Let me just ring up and book you in for something. So it's a way for us to not only, we have to be responsible for ourselves here. You might not have someone that can do that with you and for you, but it is important that we stop each week and we find some ways to fill our own cup. Now, me going for a little run is definitely fills my cup. It makes me feel like I've done something for myself. And what's the first thing that I do when things get busy is go, oh, I'll do that later. Oh, I don't have time for it. Oh, the family needs me. My run's going to have to go to the side. Well, Greg knows to pull me up on that and say, actually, in order for you to be what you need to be for this family, you need to go for that run. He also recognizes, and I've got to give it to him because I know this comes with time, but one of the things that Greg's learned about me that he learned, I think, before I did was when I start to get a little bit irritable, aggravated, angry, or I might be just like jumping on things a little bit quickly, like a short fuse, right? That's the word I'm looking for. He knows it's because I haven't moved my body enough that week. And he will say to me, go get your running shoes on in a loving way. Go get your running shoes on and get out and do something that just fills your cup for a little bit. And I always come back in a very different place mentally and emotionally. So this brings me to number 4, which is when in doubt, move your body. Now, I'm not saying you have to run a marathon. I'm not saying you have to do something you're uncomfortable with. I'm saying physiology changes our mental state. When you move your body, when you change your physiology, your mental state will follow. We know this. Yes, it's about the release of endorphins, but it could be as simple as this. There are times where I have been in a meeting where I find myself getting really frustrated because something is not going my way, or because I can see the writing on the wall. Or if you understand disc profiling, I am a D or a red, which means I want it to happen fast. And sometimes team meetings or meetings with clients can go for a really long time, going over and over things. And I'm like, just let's move on. And I can feel myself getting worked up. So what I know I can do is when I get off that call, if I stand up and I just do some star jumps on the spot, or I do a couple of push-ups, or I literally just shake it out, it will change my headspace immediately because I'm changing my physiology. There have been times, I kid you not, where I have turned my camera off during a meeting because I know that my attitude has to shift. I turn my camera off during the meeting and I do it right there and then. And I come back in a very different place. There is also value in breathing exercises. This will also change your physiology. Things like box breathing. Now, if you've never practiced box breathing before, this is a really powerful exercise. I'll do it with you now so you know how to do it. So here's what it is. You breathe in for 4, hold for 4, out for 4, hold for 4. Now, there are lots of different breathing exercises you can do. This is an easy one to remember. I love it. And what it does is it slows down your central nervous system. It calms you. And again, it's changing your physiology, which is changing your mental state, your emotional state. So let's do this one together. You ready? We're going to breathe in for 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to hold for 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Breathe out for 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold for 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, it's that simple. We can do this at any time. We've got this ready in our pockets. We don't even need people to know we're doing it. I often do this during a meeting. I will just be sitting there doing this, and it changes the way I show up. So, box breathing, another powerful way of changing your physiology. I'll give you another fun one. Yes, you can go for a walk. You can do all those things, exercise, go to a gym class. But if you don't have a lot of time and you want to change your physiology, my favorite one to do is this. If you look, you may not want to be in a private location for this. You may not be like me where you're like, I don't want anyone to see me dancing. If you don't care, go for it. Just like let it go. But if you're like me, find yourself a private place. I've done this before. Don't tell anyone. In a toilet. I've locked myself in a toilet and I've done this because I've needed to. But it might just be put yourself in your office or in your bedroom. I'll tell you a funny story here. So I know how important changing your physiology is. This one here is where you put some music on and you just dance for a second. Your favorite song, something that you just can't resist dancing to. I've got a playlist I've set up on my phone of what I call game on songs. My game on songs are my songs that I play to get me ready for a webinar, ready for a training, ready for a podcast even, or ready for a keynote presentation. And I always dance and move my body because I know my energy is different when I've done that. The blood is flowing around my body and I'm in a much better place than if I just sit here and I hit go on the camera. So this particular day, I'd actually come back from a conference I'd been to where I had learned more about changing my own physiology. And I got home and something had happened. I don't even know what it was. And I just found myself in a bit of a funk. And so I thought, right, I know what I need to do. I know I'm in control of this. I can change the way I show up. Can't control what's happening, but I can change the way I show up. So I went to my bedroom and I put my AirPods in so no one could hear it. I was like, I'm going to dance and no one's going to see me do it. And I'm just going to let it all out. And so I did. Went to my bedroom, put my AirPods in, and I just danced. I closed my eyes and I had my hands going everywhere. My body was I was just letting it out. It felt so good. And then I opened my eyes and I realized my blind to my window was open, which normally wouldn't matter because we look out over a beautiful reserve and a river, but overlooking our swimming pool, and it was summer. And my two boys, while I had been doing this little dancing exercise, had decided to go and hop in the swimming pool. So they're taking the cover off the pool as I'm doing this, and they can see straight into my bedroom window and they see me going crazy. Now, here is the beautiful thing about this. I want you to understand something right now. Your energy transfers to other people. It is infectious. It impacts people. You don't need to open your mouth in order for you to have an impact on another human being. I can tell you experience after experience after experience where I have discovered this, but this was one of those times. So I look at the mirror and I just stopped dead because I was like, oh my gosh, my kids are watching me do this, dancing like crazy, like a mad woman. My boys are taking the cover off the pool. They also stopped, stared like, what the heck? Our mum is normally so composed and she's got it so together and she's going crazy dancing. And the pause was only momentary. And then the look on their face, they beamed. And the two of them, this is the hilarious thing, they couldn't hear the music, okay, because it was in my AirPods. The two of them started dancing as well. And so I continued dancing and the three of us were laughing our heads off. We couldn't hear each other, but we're staring at each other and we're dancing on the spot going crazy. It was one of those funny but beautiful moments where I realized I have a choice and I have an impact and my energy is transferring to other people. It is infectious. Therefore, it's my responsibility. So after that, I grabbed we've got a little speaker. I put the music I was listening to on the speaker. I brought it down to the swimming pool and I did something I would never do. I just threw myself into the pool fully clothed and we just had the most hilarious hour. We all danced, we played, we splashed, we sang, and it was just awesome. But that moment wouldn't have happened had I not stopped and changed my own state. It has to start with me. So that's number 4. When in doubt, move your body. The last one, number 5, I've left to last for a reason. Because this in some ways is the most difficult to practice, but in other ways is the most powerful one. And it comes back to this, the law of reciprocity. If I find myself in a place where I'm in a funk, and sometimes I know why, sometimes I don't, but when I find myself in that place, I've got a choice to make. I can focus on me and what I'm not getting and what I'm frustrated about and what the world is doing to me or someone has said to me or done to me or what's not right, or I can focus on changing it for another human being. If, let's just say, you are feeling frustrated because someone has said something to offend you, and I'm just throwing it out there. It could be anything. It doesn't even need to be related. But someone said something to offend you. You could focus on that. You could put your energy in that place, or you could find a way to change that for another human being. So what if the choice you made was to pick the phone up and tell somebody something you love about them, pay them a compliment? Do you know it's almost impossible for you to feel negative in a moment where you're making somebody else feel positive? Do for somebody else what you want done for you. Trust the law of reciprocity. I'll often say to our members, if you're frustrated because no one's commenting on your post, let me ask you, when's the last time you commented on somebody else's business post? Go and find some Facebook business pages and engage with their content. Show them the support you want people to be showing you. If nobody is supporting your business, find a way to support someone else's business. If no one's joining you, find a way to join someone. I don't mean join their team. I mean just join what they're up to, join their group. Just show them some support. pay someone a compliment, give someone an encouraging word. The law of reciprocity is so powerful. And I promise you, if you focus on making someone else feel great, you can't feel anything but great too. Just trust me on that. I have done this many times. I have practiced this process many times. It doesn't mean that the problem that created your funk has gone away, but it changes the way you're showing up. And you know what? Ripple effect. Would you rather have a ripple effect where something comes and happens to you and then you throw doom and gloom around to everyone else around you? Or would you rather intentionally have something happen to you and then send out some love and light to the world because you've intentionally said, this is stopping with me. You know what? Like, this is negative. This has made me feel blah, whatever it is, but I'm not going to let that flow through me. I'm going to change it up and I'm going to send it out in a different way. So find a way to share some love with somebody, to compliment someone, to encourage somebody. And you know what? If you're feeling a little bit, woe is me, no one's doing this for me, this isn't happening for me, no one appreciates me, find someone you can appreciate. I promise you it'll make the world a difference. So let's recap those 5 things really quickly. We've got number 1, start your day or your week intentionally. And I don't just mean planning, I mean mentally and emotionally get yourself into a place where you're centered before you even start. Number 2 is you can't feel gratitude and fear simultaneously. So practice genuinely feeling some gratitude in those moments where you find yourself in a place that you want to shift. Number 3 is fill your cup. Find some simple things you can do. Write that list out if you can. It doesn't have to be complicated. It could be big things, but it could also be really tiny things. Sitting down and enjoying a cup of tea in the sun will do so much for you if that's a way that you could soothe your own soul. You've got your own thing, your own list. So find your things and have them ready and geared up so you can be filling your cup every single day. Number 4 is when in doubt, move your body. Doesn't need to be hard. It could be going for a walk or a run, but it could also be just dancing to your favorite song and not worrying about who's watching. Or it might be do some star jumps on the spot for a sec or do a breathing exercise, maybe box breathing. Last one is the law of reciprocity. Give what you want to receive. Share some love outside of yourself. Don't let that ripple effect be dark and gloomy if you're feeling a little bit flat. So that's it from me today. I hope that this has given you what you needed coming into this episode. A little bit of inspiration, maybe some tools in your tool belt to help you show up as the best version of yourself. I want to make sure that you understand I don't mean the perfect version because you are perfect exactly as you are in your imperfect way. But every day we have a choice to grow, to learn, to evolve, to step into our full potential. And that happens outside of our comfort zone. And we also get tested with challenging circumstances. Sometimes we don't even know why we feel a little bit low or flat or unproductive or angry or irritated or whatever it might be. It could even be hormonal, for goodness sakes. But there are things that we can do to help shift those places. So that's it from me today. Thank you so much for tuning in. I really want to honor you. And I also really want to ask you for a little favor. Please help us spread the message with this podcast. This is a free resource that our entire team pours their energy and their efforts into every single week so that we can provide you with incredible guests from all around the globe, stories, inspiration, and tools to help you be the best you can be and to grow your amazing business. But we need to get this out to as many people as we can. And so I want you to help us spread the word. If you love this episode, do 2 things for me, please. Number 1, subscribe on YouTube so you don't miss out on any of our upcoming episodes. You can find us there under the Direct Selling Accelerator podcast. The second thing you can do is share this with a friend. If there's somebody who you can think of right now where you can pour into them, sow into them by sharing this episode, maybe there's something you heard in here and someone popped into your mind. Send them an encouraging message along with the link to this episode and get them to have a listen. It's the ripple effect. We've all got a chance to have one. So that's it from me today. Thanks again for tuning in. It's been my honor and privilege to being in your world for the last 35 minutes. So have an amazing rest of your week and we'll see you again on the podcast next week. That's it from me. Bye for now. Thank you for joining us in this episode of the Direct Selling Accelerator podcast. If you love listening and you found that this was helpful for your direct selling business, please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can also check out the recommended video that's popped up on your screen right here. I look forward to seeing you again next time. Bye for now.